All right, we're going to talk about some repulsive characteristics or things about the fight game. Some of the things that led to me completely wanting to remove myself from coaching professional boxers completely. First and foremost, do not ever let a significant other be part of your training or management staff. I know right now there's some girlfriend or spouse who's like, I want to be part of what you're doing. And she's probably going to see this and tell you to never watch my videos again. But this is the realest thing. This will only lead to ruin. If somebody cares about your well-being as a human, they're not going to have your best interest as a fighter in mind. And if somebody cares about your best interest of being a fighter, they're not going to have your best interest of being a human in mind. Or however that... Anyway, the stuff that's good for being a fighter, the stuff that's good for being a human, they don't always go together. So if somebody really loves you, they should not be in this. It's different with, when your dad was a fighter and you're a fighter, okay. They at least have the right experience. But like your girlfriend, because she's a finance manager or a finance major in college, don't let her try to manage you as a fighter. All right, number 2, no one has your best interest in mind outside your camp, and sometimes even they are suspect. There's a lot of vipers. The fight game is a nest of vipers. People lie, people cheat, people steal. It's ridiculous. So like, don't trust anybody. And I can't stress that hard enough. Number 3, no matter what the organizers say, there's always an A side and there's always a B side. And if nobody is talking about that in front of you, there's a reason why. Half of all records, at least, are bought or cherry-picked. The more manicured or curated the record is, the less it really matters. And Floyd Mayweather was a genius, had an insane fight acumen, but he also kind of ruined professional boxing. And the reason I say that is because now there's this mandatory understanding that fighters have to have a perfect record at least through, 10 fights, 20 fights in some cases, depending on where you're from. And the problem that creates is people curate their records. And the only people who lose from that are the fans, because I want to see the best fights. I want to see the best fighters fight the best fighters. And the spirit of the sport or the spirit of the activity should also make the best fighters want to fight the best fighters. And they should want to do it at the apex of their careers. So when people say, oh, I don't really want to fight him now, might damage my record, I don't really think that's the best way that the fight game in general should operate. We should all get the best fights, and you just don't get that when people are too worried about having a record without blemish. And the other thing is, right, all a record means, it doesn't mean that fighter 1 is better than fighter 2. It means that that night, in that circumstance, in that location, at that time, that fighter 1 was better than fighter 2 or vice versa. So you always have to think about that, but people don't ever talk about it. At least none of the people that I really see out in the internet. All right. The fight game is full of villains. And, I said that earlier. It's a nest of vipers. It really is. Don't add to the problem. Look, if you're a scumbag, go somewhere else. Like, please don't get into fighting. Fighting's full of scumbags already. It doesn't need any more. And I get that a lot of fighters, they got to hype it up. They got to be a bad guy because it sells tickets or whatever. But like, I'm a coach. I don't care about ticket sales at all. I care about making better people, making better fighters, because the two can be trained together. I see a lot of coaches out there who do try very hard to make like good men out of the people or women that they're training. But I also see that the higher you kind of go up, the more scam artists start to appear, because it's very lucrative at those higher levels it's not lucrative for me, so I'm kind of proud of the fact that I make an effort not to create scumbags in the fight game. But that's probably why I don't get paid a lot of money. All right, last minute fights are brave and stupid, always. No matter how good you think you are, if you're taking a fight at the last minute, there's a reason that you're getting it at the last minute. And sure, people pull out, people do whatever, and the cards change. But like, when you start to notice a pattern of people hitting you up 2 weeks out, you really need to consider who these people are and why they're doing it. The other thing is, absolutely do not accept in your contract or in any point in time where you're going through setting up your fight, do not accept last minute weight changes. Or if you're sitting at like your walk around weight and somebody tries to get you to fight and then pushes the contract back, or they change the date, or they do any of these things to try to get you to fight out of a comfortable weight, like what your comfortable fight weight is, never accept those circumstances. And they can try and call you a coward in the media, but at the end of the day, who cares? Because if you go and you fight that fight and it's not under ideal circumstances, you are doing everything possible to shoot yourself in the foot, to stop yourself from winning, and that's just stupid. Do not engage in stupid behavior. My own fighters will come to me and be like, "Hey, I just took this fight, nope, I'm not gonna run your corner then." Like I refuse. I just stopped doing it because fighters kept making bad decisions. My fighters would come to me with bad decisions, and I would just say, "No, I'm not gonna run your corner." I don't do that, and I hate the managerial process. I'm not part of it. I'm a boxing coach, right, or a striking coach. That's not my field of expertise, but I know when something smells like dung, it's probably dung, and when somebody comes to you with that kind of contractual thing, it's because nobody has your best interest in mind. People are just trying to get you to stand up in front of somebody else and not win, and that's not what I'm here for. So enough about that. I'm going to do a whole video on fight contract stuff. That's going to come up in the next couple weeks. But, all right, never fight a pull-out master. And I don't mean the guy that doesn't have any kids. I mean, do not fight the guys that they pull out of fights all the time. If you've seen this guy's pulled out of more than 3 fights, don't fight him. I don't care what it would do for your record. There's a reason why people pull out of fights like that. And sure, people get injured, right? Camp injuries happen, right? Somebody breaks an ankle, whatever. You know who I'm talking about, the guys that have a fight coming up and then, all of a sudden now, they pull out. If you see that happens more than 3 times with a fighter, especially if they've got less than 10 fights, this is MMA or boxing, like, just stay away from them. Like, there is a scumbag somewhere in that organization, maybe the fighter, maybe somebody in the fighter's camp. Nope, ain't worth it. So, these have been, I guess, 8 points that are just things that I really want you to think about before you get into this business, because I trained professional boxers for a little while, and some of it permeates into the amateurs too. Don't think that this is just a professional boxing thing only. But it's one of those things where you have to always watch your back. And I hate that it's like that. I hated it so much that it's not for me. Because nobody has any damn honor. And that is the worst part, There are young men who are risking their neurological and their general fitness and their health with a threat of permanent injury for a sport that they love or they have some kind of inclination towards. And there's a whole bunch of other people who aren't really staking anything in the game, who are making a lot of money off of the threats to that person's health. And they're very unscrupulous about it. And I think that's disgusting. But when you see, especially at the top ranks of international boxing, when you see how much money these people make, it's very easy to understand why it's the second most corrupt sport next to soccer, or what some of you watching this will call football. Right? At the end of the day, when there's a whole bunch of money at stake, there's going to be a bunch of people that have no morals and no honor. And so, I guess really the biggest point of this video right now is I want you to remember that, because I want you to keep yourself safe from what I frankly think are evil, evil people. So, anyway, I got more boxing stuff I'm going to film today, but this was the thing that I thought was important to talk about, especially for people who are about to start a fight career. So, thanks for watching.